and Manny Machado, his 26th of the season, both coming in the first inning against Orioles rookie Tom Eshelman. Time to bring in Jeff Sherman from the Superbook USA at the beautiful Westgate. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Great. How's it going, Dave?
Good. We knew this was coming, and I'm imagining there's already been some action. You guys posting NBA over and under win props for next season. They are now available. And the first thing I noticed, there's no real huge numbers out there. The Bucks on top at 58.5, and no one else higher than 55.5. I mean, just on the surface, that indicates it's going to be a really fun regular season.
Yeah, and you have the Bucks at 58.5, the 76ers at 55.5, and that's just because of the way the Eastern Conference shapes up.
Right.
You have a large discrepancy over there, but then if you look out west, you have 3 teams at 54.5, a bunch in the mid-40s, a lot more competitive on the Western side.
So where do you expect the action to be?
Well, a couple places had these out prior to us. We made our own numbers and put up what we wanted to, and it was different than the marketplace had. And what we're seeing right now is bets between those differences. So, we could shape the decisions how we want early on, but we just put up the numbers we thought were good at this point in time, and we'll make adjustments through the preseason. But, there's some teams that we're high on. The Bulls were one of them. That's one that I played over 30.5. We put up 33.5. A little lower on the Nets. There's a little higher on the marketplace on that. So we've had a few differences out there.
I noticed one team that is getting a ton of respect in terms of their number is the Utah Jazz. I mean, they are looking like an upper echelon team. At least that's what they're expected to be.
Yeah, and I love the moves that they made in the offseason. And to me, they have the makings of a really solid regular season team. We know how their home court advantage works for them. And they're a team that you would think over some of the other teams that will try to get the best seeding possible. A team like the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors we've seen the past couple of years, those teams this year might not be so value the regular season as much as the postseason is to them compared to these other teams like Utah. Utah is a team that we really think is going to put everything from game 1 to 82 to try to get the number 1 seed in the West.
So what about the Bucks? They're the top team in terms of the over and under wins prop, 58.5. Are they a team that you think will put a lot of stress in the regular season, or are they going to look at what took place in the playoffs this year and say, let's just get there and be as fresh as possible going in? Could they be one of those teams that decides to just make sure they get a decent seed in the playoffs and not care much after that?
Yeah, I don't think that they will. I think that they're going to, try for that 1 seed, try to put some separation between them and Philadelphia and maybe Boston. And they're pretty deep this year, but when you look at the landscape of the East, I think to them, I think the 1 seed will mean something. I know Antetokounmpo missed some time last year, but they signed some viable free agents, so they have some depth on that team. So even if he does take a night off, they still will be having some high power ratings in the spreads. And when you look at the East, who they play a majority of the games against, we got this high number because they're going to play some games on the road at the Knicks, at the Wizards, like that, where they're going to be laying double digits. So it's just their win percentage is going to be so high based on the competition they're playing against.
And one other thing is, I know it's not the be-all and end-all, but home court kind of mattered in the playoffs this year. I thought the home court really benefited the team that came out on top. So maybe some teams are going to look at it and say, you know what, let's try and move up a couple of spots in the seeding if we can.
Yeah, I mean, there will be teams that take that approach, and then, like I mentioned, I think with a team like the Lakers, you're going to see a very different power-rated team regular season to postseason if and when they make the postseason. But in the regular season, you have injury-prone Anthony Davis, LeBron at this stage of his career. I could see some maintenance plan. But then when they get to the postseason and the public wants to bet LeBron and Anthony Davis, you're going to see different spreads than you saw during the regular season against the same teams.
Speaking with Jeff Sherman, you can follow him on Twitter at Golf Odds, and we'll get to some golf odds in a little bit when we take a look at the Wyndham Championship. But before we get to that, well, I can't ask you many pertinent questions here, but I know there's a lot of people who are going to be into this stuff. The EPL season points over and unders are up.
Yeah, we just released those yesterday, and I've already seen some respected action on them. And the season gets started a week from Friday, so a couple weeks to bet these. And Man City, the defending champ, starts at 91.5. And Liverpool, who gave them a run last season, we have 82.5, so some discrepancy. We expect some regression out of Liverpool this year, but we've seen some sharp play on these already, and you got a couple weeks to get your wagers in on them.
Did you get any surprises in terms of where money might be showing up early on these EPL wagers, teams that you didn't expect to get action either way?
Well, we've seen Tottenham under 75.5, Manchester United under 68.5, and Arsenal under 70.5. So you have the top six teams. It's really a top six heavy league, and 3 of the 6 have already seen some under support.
Well, we're about, 50 hours away from the first NFL preseason game. The Broncos and Falcons will kick it off this week, Hall of Fame game, and it sure looks like the money's kind of lopsided in this one. They're bombing the Denver Broncos. I don't know if that's volume or if you're just moving the number because of how much action is showing in terms of percentage, but it looks like it's all Denver.
Well, here at the Superbook, we might be in a little bit different position than other places because when this line opened up, Atlanta was a small favorite. We opened at Pick'em, and we're favoring the Denver side. So as it's gotten closer to our number, we're staying ahead of that. And the reason being, Atlanta under this coach has not fared well the past couple seasons. Denver, you have a new coach, and that's an angle in a game like this. So you want to try to establish that culture immediately and get towards a winning side. So I think Denver's going to value the game a little bit more than Atlanta. And we thought the number should have started at Denver 3, and that's where it is now. But we've actually seen Atlanta money because of our difference to the marketplace.
The Wyndham Championship gets rolling this weekend. Not surprisingly, coming off the British Open and then a big WGC event where almost all the superstars were in attendance this past weekend. A lesser field this week. Webb Simpson, who's playing very well and loves this golf course, he is the favorite.
Yeah, he's a 10-1 favorite, followed by Hideki Matsuyama. And this is the last event to qualify for the playoffs that start next week. So you got some guys on the bubble of the 125 that are trying to get into the big money playoffs. So it should be an interesting week.
You know what also, and I don't know how much attention it gets, but there are some guys on the cusp for the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup. And for those guys, this is a chance to pick up some really valuable points, especially if they can pick up a win. So I think some of those guys are guys to maybe key on.
Yeah, there's no doubt you can look at it from that angle, too, because you have this and you have the 3 playoff events, and then you get into the fall series, and you don't get all the big names playing in that. So this is an opportunity for someone like a Webb Simpson on a course like this where he's had so much success, maybe a Jordan Spieth at 18-1 to try to refine his game because he's had a less than stellar season this year. So Patrick Reed, he's on the outside there, and you got a few guys that can move up a little bit.
The rookie sensation, Viktor Hovland, he hasn't had a top 10 yet, although he's played well in basically every tournament he's been in. You wonder how motivated he's feeling right now with Weber having won already. Norakami gets the win up in Northern Nevada this past weekend. He hasn't gotten into the winner's circle yet. The problem for him this week, and it's probably, I think, why I'm not going to play him this week, is this has been a tournament where course form has really mattered, and he doesn't have any here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there's some really statistics that show for the course form, like you mentioned, Webb Simpson, Brandt Snedeker. One guy like Rory Sabatini at 40-1. He's in some nice form and played well on this course, too. So you do need to look at that angle this week. It's not a very difficult course, but if you know the course, it's going to help you out. And like you mentioned, Colin Morikawa winning last week in Reno. Viktor Hovland, he's waiting to break through. Joaquin Niemann. Matthew Wolff coming off a win at the 3M earlier. So
I said Weber, I meant Wolff.
Yeah, the young guys are pushing the veterans right now. But, that's one thing you can look at right now, too, is Matthew Wolff is now qualified for Augusta off of his win. Morikawa's win did not get him into Augusta, but moved him up to number 90 in the world rankings. And if you're top 50 by the end of the year or closer to the tournament, you'll get in. I expect him to be there, but you can find these guys in triple digits for the Masters right now when potentially when it gets to April next year, there might be 40 to 50-1.
I'm just sick about not betting him in the Barracuda. I mean, it was just sitting there. And the kid's really, really good. And in that against that field, I should have been on him, and I wasn't. So instead, I was on Rory in the main event, and Brooks Koepka just, did you get the sense like 3 holes in that it was over, that McIlroy was, to me, completely psyched out by Brooks Koepka. And it's the most lopsided, in terms of psych out level, it's the most lopsided I've seen since Tiger was in his heyday. I think people are afraid. If you got Koepka in your final twosome on Sunday, you're not going to beat him.
Yeah, I agree with you, because you can talk about a golfer overpowering the golf course, but really Koepka overpowered McIlroy on Sunday, and it was evident there. And I agree that Koepka, with what we're seeing with him, we haven't seen anything since Tiger in his prime as far as intimidation and how aggressive and confident he is, and everyone else just loses it at some point and can't maintain 4 rounds of consistent golf. And Koepka just puts the pedal down and runs away from these guys. So, I adjusted him down from 10-1 to 8-1 for the Masters next year. He's the only one in single digits, but he's the only one right now that you can have confidence in that can do this. I
will probably be taking, I don't favorite or not, and I normally don't play favorites in golf, but I don't see much chance I'm going to leave him out in any major for the near future. He's the best. There's just no question at this point. He is the number 1 player in the world.
Yeah, and if you can find him in double digits, it's probably a wise bet to make now, because I don't expect when that week approaches you'll be able to find that the way that he runs. We still aren't to the end of July, and the Super Contest is now in 4 figures already in terms of entries. Amazing. Yeah, we got 1,008 in the main contest, 29 in the gold, so we're just flying right now and on a great pace, and I think a lot of that has to do with the ease of being able to put your selections on the app for the first time, so we're real excited about that. Yeah, I mean, it's just the convenience factor is spectacular at this point. Even for those out of town, they'll still be able to. Now, they won't be able to actually put their selections in if they're living out of the state of Nevada on the app, but they will be able to view the lines. Is that correct? Well, yeah, they can. Their proxies can put them in without having to come in the book. Right. And if they're in Nevada on vacation out here, they could be in Reno. Just anywhere in Nevada, they can put them in at that point too. So they'll have access to the lines, and it's going to make it so much easier for everybody in this regard. So especially the locals, and we're real excited that we can help everyone out around here. You can just come down once to sign up for it, and you just don't have to do it last minute and get caught with it. But the one thing is, putting your picks in on the app, you have to do it by close of business on Friday night. Right. That's not going to be available on Saturday, just in case any technology glitches around that time. Smart move. And, of course, the app is accessible to anyone, any place, so you can view the entire menu at Superbook USA. And if you want to go in and open an account, it just takes a matter of minutes, and then you've got access to play those games that you want. Absolutely. I mean, it just takes a few minutes to sign up, and right now you can just go on our app and view everything. And one of the things that we just released, Ed Salmon's got up, is for college basketball. We listed a ton of teams to make the Final Four, which is unique because I don't know many places that do that. And that's we've got it for college football to make the playoffs and college basketball to make the Final Four. So some unique items on plenty of teams to look for. Great stuff, Jeff. Appreciate it as always, bud. All right, thanks, Dave. Again, make sure and follow Jeff Sherman on Twitter at Golf Odds. He's a great follow on Twitter because he's constantly updating these leaderboards in terms of where the money, what the odds are for just about all the stuff. Not game by game, but your future book odds consistently updated on Twitter. And if you want the latest golf odds, check out Jeff's website, golfodds.com. Jason Brinks coming up. We're going to talk about maybe some ideas on how to approach the NFL exhibition season from a betting standpoint. Also, I'm going to tell you about a 21-0 angle that applies to one of tonight's games.
The Las Vegas Sports Line.
I'm with Cliff Miller from MJ Christensen at Boca Park. Cliff, I'm an old guy. I got some old jewelry. Any ideas what I can do with it?
Oh, absolutely. One of our largest categories is custom design. My son Rusty does it all. And it's the most incredible thing to see styles that are 30, 40 years old that people haven't worn in years and see what he creates out of those diamonds, precious gems, and that metal. And you will be sparkling and feel top of the world when you leave MJ Christensen.
MJ Christensen, located at Boca Park.
Hey, it's Dave Cokin with John Lyons from Lyons Physical Therapy. So, car wrecks, very frequent in Las Vegas. Sometimes serious injuries, some not so serious, but in a lot of cases, there has to be some kind of physical therapy after the accident. Talk about that.
Yes, Dave. We as physical therapists can assess all injuries after a car accident. Sometimes we're the first person to see a patient where we can identify the type of injuries the patient has. We will get them moving better, help reduce their pain, and we also work in conjunction with multiple physicians so these patients can be given appropriate medications to help with their pain, muscle spasms, and swelling. We can also provide any post-operative treatment in case these patients ever need surgery on their spine, their shoulders, and their knees.
LionsPTLV.com, 702-476-0222.
Hello, friends. This is Thomas Johnson from Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab. Need a great idea